Hi everyone, this is the second video in the series which we're going to be looking at constructing apps in Glide. So I'm already logged into Glide, so you'll have to create an account, which is pretty straightforward and easy to do. And what we're going to do is start with a new app. So to create a new app, very straightforward, just click the button. Now I'm going to start with a blank template. I haven't tried a basic app or a generated app. But you'll also see that you can also start with base data. Okay, so you can have, so for example, if your app that you want to design has some data where you want to do calculations or use reference data, that can easily be done via Google Sheets or by Excel to create those tables. In this particular case, we're creating an app where we're generating data. So I'm going to start with a blank app. It's thinking now, but once it gets home. Okay, so just to give you a bit of navigation about the app, it's all fairly straightforward. But basically, whenever you start one of these apps, it always has a default of a user table. And the layout section is what it looks like. And this here is the screens where we can add different screens that once you click from one place to another, that you can you can navigate between the screens. And within the screens themselves, there's a whole heap of different options that you can use depending on what you need. Now, some of these things might require a bit of playing around with on what you can and cannot do. And it's near impossible to go through every possible variation of what you might do. So we'll just build the app that basically I was doing. So what we're going to do in this video now is set up our data tables. Okay, so to create a data table, we've got an empty data table here. So the first thing I'm going to do is double click on it and I'm going to rename it match data. So match data, as you might remember from the previous video, is all of the information we want to capture about a given match for this hockey app. So it's fairly straightforward. So the first thing I'm going to capture is I'm going to edit the current default. So they've given me a name and description as the default start, and I want to collect the date. Now, when you're setting up the app, what you need to do is actually select the type of app, the type of information you want to store in there. So in this case, we want to store date and time, and once you're storing date and time, you can also specify a few extra things, and it does vary depending upon what the actual thing is. So in this case, I'm not really interested in date and time. I'm only really interested in date, so I'm happy just to have date. And honestly, because I haven't tried this before, I'm not sure what the difference is between medium, long, and short. And these are some of the experimentations that you will need to do. Now, if it lets me click away from this. Okay, so now I can just save that and I've created my first field. So the next field, I'm going to modify it again. And this time I'm going to have the name of the team. So I'm just going to call that team. And that will be text that we want to collect, so I don't need to change anything there. And then I want my name of my opposition, who we are playing. Okay, so that's all straightforward. Now to add a new table, so this is the first time we're actually adding a table, so you can click the plus button and we can name it. So here I'm going to just go through the data we want to collect. So it's short corners is one of them, and I want the ones for us. Okay, and then I need to specify, now here's where you can see some of all of the different types of pieces of information you can possibly use. So you can use things like computed fields, which is things like you can do maths functions, do this if that. You can do lookup values. You can do all sorts of things. I'm going to even do a little bit of AI. Okay, so text to audio. So for example, for something like this, you could actually have someone with a voice to text type response. Some other common ones are things like Boolean. So Boolean is less intuitive what it means. A Boolean value is just a true or false or a yes or a no. So you might have a need for that. So in our particular case, we want to be able to count up numbers. So I'm going to do a number, and the precision, the number of decimal places. It gives you a few options. We don't really need decimal places, so I'm just going to put 1, and that's all I need. So the next one is we need, and I'm just going to duplicate this one, and because all the settings I've just set will be exactly the same. Okay, and then what we need to do is add our other one. So I'm going to duplicate again. So our other options were, I think we wanted circle entries. Okay, and we want us. Okay, and the settings are all still the same. It's a number and all that sort of stuff. And I can duplicate again, and this time we want, instead of us, we want them. Okay, and then I'm going to keep duplicating because it's quicker, and I'm going to put shots on goal. So you can see it's quite a straightforward app to use, or a program to use. So goal, us, okay, and then we need a duplicate, so we've got a couple more fields to put in, and we're going to put in them, and save, and we've got a duplicate yet again, and the last couple that we want to put in is repeat attacks. And then we just need one more, which is duplicate, and we want repeat attacks there. Okay, so now we've got all of our data structure for the match. Okay, the match data we want to collect. Okay, and that's all good. The next thing we need to do is add a table, and you can see pretty easy. Just click that, and you'll see again that you don't have to have all your data set up. You can actually import things as well. Okay, so I'm going to click blank table. Okay, and it always gives you really funny names for the tables. And I'm just going to call it team, so that's going to be our team. And that's all I need is a name, so I don't need to do anything here. And then the last one I need to create is yet another one, a blank table, and this is for the opposition. Okay, and that is all done. Okay, so now my data structures are all in place of all the things I need, so there's not a lot of tables that need to be put in, and pretty much we're done with our data structures. All right, so you can see it's very, very straightforward, but again, it's worthwhile having a bit of a play around to see what the different apps do, and there's also a library that you can find in Glide that will allow you to, if you don't know how to do something, to search it up, and there's also a community where you can actually search up I think it's in here somewhere. I think it's the universe. There's Glide Homes, there's docs which show you all the reference information to find out stuff, and you can also go into Glide University, which is basically a series of videos as well if you need other help. Alrighty guys, that is the next step along the way, and we'll catch you next time.